After Marvel's Spider-Man was a great success in terms of sales in 2018, it was obvious that Insomniac Studios would make more Spider-Man games. So, with the release of PS5, they released a new Spider-Man game called Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. But it was almost marketed as a standalone DLC rather than the next big thing, which I thought at the time was a good thing, because 2 years of development time is unfortunately not enough of a development time for big AAA games nowadays. At least the price tag of the game was not as high as full game, so I'm totally okay with a small standalone DLC-like adventure. After finishing Marvel's Spider-Man, even though it was extremely repetitive in most of the gameplay elements, I wanted more of it. This was weird to me because I didn't like the game that much. I'm guessing the reason for it was the incredible movement system they had. Anyways, after finishing the original title, I immediately downloaded Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales and started playing it. After finishing the game, I felt conflicted. But before starting the game review, because this game feels like more of a standalone DLC rather than its own game, review will be highly focused on comparing the game to the original title. If you are curious about the first game and our opinions on it, you can check the full review from our channel page. So without further ado, let's get going with the review. The game starts with an incredible rhino chase sequence, which is followed up with a solid boss fight. I like the first game's introduction with the Fisk boss fight as well, but I loved this game's intro even more. It is action-dense with incredible cinematics and hectic fight sequences. I think this intro sequence was especially carefully designed because it was literally supposed to be the selling point for the PS5 when it first came out. It was one of the first games that people played with the PS5 in gaming events and talked about. So after finishing the intro sequence, I was excited, but a little cautious as well. I knew that the game probably wouldn't be this good, entire game, and unfortunately I was right. But before criticizing negatives, I would like to praise the game for what it does good and right. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales takes place 1 year after the events of Marvel's Spider-Man, and focuses on Miles Morales as he takes the mantle of Spider-Man during the Peter Parker's absence from New York. Though still learning and gaining confidence, Miles is forced to defend Harlem when a dangerous clash breaks out between the Roxxon Energy Corporation and a secretive group known as Underground, both seeking to control the unstable energy source called Nuform. As the conflict escalates and puts his community and loved ones at risk, Miles must juggle his everyday life with the growing demands of being a hero, ultimately discovering what it means to stand on his own as a Spider-Man. This story setup emphasizes growth, identity, and the challenge of living up to the Spider-Man's legacy, while becoming a hero in his own right. I have found that this story setup is extremely cliché, but nevertheless I liked it. The main reason for this is Miles. More specifically, his character design and how it's represented in the game. Also, having witnessed his incredibly dramatic backstory helps to emphasize with his character. From this point of view, I can say that Miles feels different and even better than Peter Parker. And the game actively tries to differentiate two Spider-Mans. One of the best examples for that is movement of the game. The movement in the first game was awesome. The movement in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is awesome too. It feels incredibly fluid and satisfying due to a combination of realistic physics, responsive controls, and immersive design. Swinging through New York in a momentum base, allowing players to build speed as they launch from building to building, while tight controls ensure Miles react instantly to every jump, dodge, and climb. Smooth animations, camera tilts, motion blur, and sound effects all enhance the sensation of speed and height, creating a continuous flowing experience that makes exploring Harlem exhilarating and effortless. And these animations are designed considering the character traits of Miles. For some reason, swinging with Miles feels more free. Also, the game's vertical freedom combined with Miles' unique powers makes traversal feel more dynamic and more empowering. These unique powers are called bioelectric powers. Miles can channel his bioelectric energy through his fists, delivering powerful electric strikes that stun opponents, shut down weapons, and pierce through enemy defenses. He is also able to release powerful venom blasts that affect multiple enemies at once or interact with the environment by overloading machinery and activating devices. These abilities are powered by energy that builds up during combat, rewarding aggressive and precise gameplay. More than just a combat tool, Miles' bioelectric powers represent his individuality as a Spider-Man, highlighting how he brings his own unique abilities and fighting style to the role rather than simply following in Peter Parker's footsteps. One of the strongest aspects of the story is Miles' relationship with his uncle, who is revealed to be Prowler. Their interaction adds emotional weight and personal conflict in a way that feels distinct from previous game. This dynamic stands out as one of the more original and effective elements of the narrative. But unfortunately, this is where we end the positives. The rest of the game is almost the same with the first title. Same bland and easily forgettable side quests, same overused and extremely repetitive combat system, same uninteresting character progression and unlock system. One of my most hated parts about the first game is same as well, which is crimes. In my opinion, it is unexcusable not to improve on this really important gameplay element, yet all we get is this weird time-consuming and self-repeating abomination of the open-world trash game system. When I was saying Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is the same as the first game, I wasn't exaggerating. Even the story feels from the same template. Roxxon essentially functions the same way Sable did. The Tinker's motivations closely parallel Dr. Octopus's arc, and the main corporate villain feels like a toned-down version of Norman. Because of these similarities, the story comes across as having been developed more quickly and with less originality than the first game. Even though a few moments still manage to stand out, unfortunately the game cannot support this mediocre story with enough epic cinematic sequences as they did in the intro of the game. To summarize, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is a polished and enjoyable standalone experience that succeeds most in its presentation, movement, and character focus, but struggles to justify itself beyond those strengths. While its spectacular opening and refined traversal, enhanced by Miles' unique bioelectric powers, deliver some of the most satisfying moments in modern gaming, the rest of the experience feels overly familiar. The story, though emotionally grounded through Miles' character and his relationship with the Prowler, follows a formula nearly identical to the original game, with repetitive combat, uninspired side content, and an unchanged open-world crime system holding it back. Ultimately, Miles Morales shines as a technically impressive and character-driven expansion, but its lack of meaningful evolution makes it feel more like a safe, enjoyable standalone DLC than a bold step forward for the series.